हाय नमस्कार विवा मैम, हाउ आर यू?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Ankur? So nice.
बिल्कुल बढ़िया. So nice to see you again after a long time. So happy to see you smiling and doing very well. I mean, we have not met for at least a year now, but I'm looking forward
Yes.
to seeing you next week in your school also. So excited for that. But thank you so much for joining in. I would like to formally welcome Miss Vibha Kapoor, the principal at Welham's Girls. When I was doing my research on Viva Ma'am, uh, I got to learn that she has been with Welham's for more than 26 years. I think 27 years, and she's
29th year going. Good.
29th year. When I put that out that you are going to come at Intersect Virtual event, one of my friends from IMT Ghaziabad, when I did my MBA from the Dubai campus, she mentioned, ma'am used to teach me French, and I am a Welham Girls,
That's
and I will
something.
share that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll share. And she said, "What a small world that you are hosting her. Please pass on my message to her. I will pass on that Instagram message to you. I forgot to do that. Okay. So and she used to be a standout girl in the class. I remember, and in 2 years when I was in an MBA, she was among the leading student in the entire batch of about 300 students. So I think Williams and what you have done at Williams is amazing, ma'am. We are here to talk about a very very interesting topic: privilege with purpose, redefining elite girls education in India. And no better person to talk about it than a person that has spent a lifetime at one of the best schools in the country for girls' education and for education overall. I mean, Williams is a name that is taken with pride. Williams alumni are doing exceedingly well around the world. As I gave you my real life example, I didn't know she was a Williams girls, but I saw that there was something different in that friend of mine when she was in class, and now after 15 years, I get to know that she was a Williams alumni. But with great, I'm sure there are a lot of things that we can learn. And Viva ma'am, I just want to also add this context that Viva ma'am was at Intersect 4 as one of our panelists, and she had a wonderful session where she was talking about a very, very different subject. This year she was not able to make it because of her prior engagements, but so happy that she's back now in the virtual format with us. And we hope to have you back for Intersect 6 in next year in February. I'll book your dates in advance. I'll do that also. But Viva ma'am, now, I want to start this off by asking you this first question. What does privilege with purpose mean to you in the context of Williams? Let's talk about this subject now.
See, in my opinion, I think privilege with the purpose actually refers to access to opportunity, opportunity that leads to responsibility towards one's community. In my mind, I think privilege with purpose is all about educating or giving the tools to young students, giving the whole gamut of opportunities to young students, which they can then further use for the betterment of society. That is privilege to purpose. It's when you talk about elite schools, I am actually a little averse to the use of the word elite. But if you are using that word elite, then it would mean elite for stewardship and not elite for status. So I think in schools like ours, the kind of opportunities that you get, apart from the academic co-curricular and extracurricular offerings that the school brings, the ethos, the hidden curriculum, the 24-hour curriculum that comes, it imparts skills in our students, which then, they use when they step out of school, they use and they bring meaning outside in the society as well, in their work and in their whichever interactions that they have.
Absolutely. We were at 4 p.m. we had a session with Mr. Saurav, the principal at Mayo.
Yeah.
And that's also a boarding school. And he was also talking about the hidden curriculum. He was at Intersect 5 and he did a talk on how boarding schools have a hidden curriculum, on how just staying in that ecosystem. And I think I agree with you. Elite, not in the sense word, is not something that I would also like to use in the terms that it is used frequently. Elite in the terms of just being the values that you are teaching your kids. That is what the elite today is. So, ma'am, if you can just spend some time on the hidden curriculum, if you can share something from your experience on how you help girls to prepare, to succeed professionally or to lead meaningfully in society in certain, maybe one or two things, examples from your school, that are you helping them take leadership positions and contribute to society while being conscious of what does it mean to be a Welham girl.
So, if I were to take examples from my school, I would say definitely see academic performance and career guidance and all of that matter. And they are, of course, important for people to become accomplished in later on in life. But there's so many other things which actually give anchor to you. And boarding schools bring that out very beautifully because one, the 24/7, the children are with you. So it's not only during the academic hours that we are, teaching them, or we are teaching them different skills, but it is the real education, I think, lies in the dormitories, in the interactions that they have, the seniors with the juniors, in the interactions that they have with their the adults around them, who are actually not only mentors, but I would say that in a boarding school they're in loco parents. And how to get about get things done in a very limited, restricted environment where you don't have the luxury to fall back on the support of your parents on a day-to-day. And apart from that, I think boarding schools are big on community service as such. Like in my school, there's mandatory community service. And when I talk about community service, it's not just for a few social media posts that will go in for an activity. It has to have a real objective. It has to have some learning. It has to be heartfelt. It has to be student directed. So whether it's community service, whether it is inclusivity, because we also receive students from across India and also from a few countries abroad. From foreign countries. So it's when they're living in a closed environment. They are the relatives, friends, whatever. They're only going back twice in a year. They also learn about differences, and they learn to accept those. They learn how to, navigate those differences, how to resolve conflicts amongst themselves. And all of this, I find, is actually the real learning that happens in a boarding school, where you don't have the luxury at 2 p.m. you will finish your school, you'll go back home. If something negative has happened, you'll go back and cry on your in the house, and your mother will pick up the phone or your father will pick up the phone and sort things out.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of resilience that a boarding school education brings on the table, and I think that's extremely important. Even now, scientific research says that most of the leaders and CEOs of who've really made a mark in the world are those who've, apart from academics, who've also contributed to, let's say, they've been a part of a team in the sport. They've played a particular sport with a lot of passion. They've had so many other activities that they've done, while they were at school. So that's important as well.
Absolutely. I think a lot of research is also talking about these days, where EQ is also a very, very important part than only just having IQ. And even now we are living in the age of AI, where AI is, as it is, going to have you have much, much higher IQ than whatever we can have. I think those traits of standing up for yourself, having character, dealing with situations, managing relationships, understanding, having ownership of your own life. I mean, those are the kind of things that schools have to now It's not good to have, it's a must have. I mean, ever since. I mean, I just want to talk about also this, historically, we elite education. I mean, I am categorizing that because people understand elite education easily. Elite education often focused on polish, prestige, and performance. What does like elite education stand for now at Wellens, or maybe what are your views? What is elite? Let's define this term elite. I mean, what and you mentioned it in your opening remarks that you don't like the term elite in the sense that people like common people use it, but let's talk about in terms of Willem's philosophy of elite.
So, first of all, I'd like to challenge this statement saying historically it was all about polish. I think when boarding schools, the premise on which boarding schools are set is not about polish, but it's about giving a Spartan education to students. I mean, if you go back into the history of any of the schools, whether it is Welham Girls, or it is Lawrence School Sana, or it is Eton, or whatever, the idea is to bring up children in a very restricted environment where they don't have the luxuries that they would normally have access to if they are in their parents' houses. So I don't think it was ever about it is about making resilient individuals, independent thinking individuals who do not fear to question, who will take a stand even when it is unpopular, or even when a situation is uncomfortable. Children who will choose the harder right over the easier wrong, who will stand by their convictions, who will have a strong inner compass. I mean, that is what the premise of all boarding schools have been, and it continues to be so. And it's unfortunate that people from the outside view boarding schools as elitist, just because our selection process is selective. So somehow we kind of get that kind of tag.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, like, from personal experience, I am from a day school. And when I moved to Dehradun, I also was of the same view. But when I actually came into the school, and I got embedded into the school's ethos, and that's where I realized what the true value of a boarding school, is, what it brings to the table. I mean, you can look at our alumni, like you yourself said, that there was something different about her. So that definitely did not come from the subjects or her percentage that she may have gotten in her class 10 or class 12. It's the way she would have conducted herself, the way she would have questioned or discussed, and even if when you have differences, you also learn how to manage those differences respectfully, in a very respectful, responsible manner. Those are the kind of things that boarding schools bring to the table.
Absolutely, and I think, ma'am, we are also talking about girls' school. I mean, we are talking about girls' education. So I just want to touch on that subject. And we are living in the age of social media and a lot of pressures that it comes with it. We were just talking with the Mayo principal, Saurav sir, on the subject of growing up online in the age of social media. There's a lot of pressures, and there's a lot of ill impact effects of just having that social media, dealing with social media pressure, peer pressure of using those tools. So what are your thoughts on how are you dealing with aspirations and self-image of young girls today? What is being showcased in terms of mass media on social media, and if you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so definitely I would say that social media brings with itself a certain set of disadvantages. And why just girls? I think adolescents across, they are getting addicted to social media by and by. Curiosity is taking a dip, reading habits are taking a dip. And also I think there's a lot of stress because there's a gap between their real selves and their very curated, edited selves that they project on social media, and the pressure to match that gap is pretty visible amongst adolescents today. Thankfully, because we are in an environment where we can even control that to an extent, I think gives us an upper edge. Devices are given to senior students in school, but those are limited again. I mean, we have a very structured routine. It's a grueling routine. There's compulsory sports, compulsory activities. So our students kind of learn to manage, a whole range of activities, and the time that they spend on social media vis-a-vis the time that day boarders would be spending, I think that's comparatively less. Secondly, I feel that in our school we also lay a lot of emphasis on qualities such as compassion and empathy and service to society. So what happens is that our students, their sense of self-worth does not come from, let's say, appearances or just marks or their social media profiles. They also what they see visibly actually in the school environment, they also hold that to value, and that's why they value so many other things: sportsman spirit, being a team player. All of those things in their mind also add to their self-worth, which kind of protects them, gives them a little bit of a barrier between the social media and their sense of worth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that in. I am also conscious of the time. We have about 12 minutes. We'll have the next session is with Jitu Mishra, the Chief Administrative Officer at Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. Vibha ma'am is with us for next 12 minutes. So people in the audience, please feel free to comment in the chat section. If you have any questions, any feedback, anything that you want to share on this subject, please feel free. Please make sure that you take full benefit of Vibha ma'am's time here. I mean, she has taken 30 minutes off her busy schedule, so please feel free to do that. I just wanted to nudge you in that direction. But Vibha ma'am, I think you mentioned one of the things that I want to come back to is that, having that community life. You mentioned sports, extracurriculars, helping them, decouple from the virtual world and the pressures that come with it, and social media and all those things. I mean, if you can just share with us, for us who never went to boarding schools. I also went to a day school, and I never had the benefit of doing that. What does a day look like for a student at Welham's? I mean, how does it? When does it start? When does it end? And what kind of freedoms do they have or they do not have? Because we know boarding schools have their own rules and customs and traditions. And so, if you can just talk about those as well for people who may not be from boarding schools.
So our students wake up at about 5:30, 5:45, and after a little wash up, they go for their sports. They come back. After inspection, they get ready. Then they have their inspection. They go for breakfast. Straight away, they get into classes. In the middle, they have their little refreshment breaks, and normally in the afternoons, they have to have compulsory activities, so they have to choose certain activities, and there's a whole array of activities that we offer. Whether it is dramatics, whether it's MUN, there's debates, there's robotics, AI, whatever. Even activities where you're expected to work with hands. These days, I also feel that it's extremely important to work with hands. The fine motor skills of our children is not as developed as ours was.
Absolutely.
And so besides those, and so once they're done with their activities post lunch, they immediately change up and they go for compulsory sports again. And when they come back at about 6:15, they sit down for their prep, which is homework time for them. And prep lasts till dinner time, which is at 8 o'clock. And so they have their dinner, then they go back to their dormitories, relax for a while. If they have more work, then they finish that. And I think that barely leaves them with any other energy to do anything after that. But in the middle, in the afternoons, when they have their activities, they also have certain unstructured time. to generally sit around, chat with the teacher, sit together, have a feel of the community life. And apart from that, of course, if they have other engagements, if they have, let's say, they have to write their LORs or college applications or anything, so they have time in the afternoons factored in, where they get their devices. So when they get their devices, the time is extremely limited. So they'd rather use it to do stuff that, for which
That matters. Yeah.
rather than, mindlessly browsing through all these social media and other applications. And another thing is that it is nicely firewalled. It's
Yeah.
also very nicely firewalled. I mean,
Okay.
and in fact, I'll tell you that many of my parents who come in, and I have this habit, whenever new parents come in, I always meet them and I want to understand what their aspirations are. And many of them actually are very happy that it is a controlled environment, because they themselves are all professionals. They're working, they're unable to, in the afternoon, they're unable to monitor the device usage of their children.
Yeah.
And so this is like a very good option for them, where all activities are offered under one roof. They don't even have to travel from one place to another, let's say to learn piano or to learn vocal music or any other activity. So it's a very safe, controlled environment in which a child can then be nurtured beautifully.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have mentioned it. I mean, just having those kind of facilities and, people like you around to take care of students, teach them, mentor them, advise them, and then, how big is your school? What is the strength in Welhams now?
So that's the beauty of our school. We have 540 students, and
Okay.
our teacher-student ratio is 1:10. Uh,
1:10.
So this is almost like we know each and everybody,
Mm.
what ticks, what doesn't tick with them, how to make them do whatever, how to make them participate in events, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, how to help them overcome, their weaknesses, get them to develop skills. All of that is very easy for us.
Wow, I'm sure 1:10 is awesome as a teacher to student ratio. And then I'm sure the outcomes for your kids will be amazing, right? After grade 12, I mean, places that they go to and kind of things that they achieve in life. You want to talk about that?
So, our students, first of all, are, even though we are big brand ambassadors of holistic education, our academic results are one of the best in the country. Right now, I don't really remember the exact digits, but our ISC batch average was 94.32 or something like that, and our ICSE batch average 93.76.
Wow.
And what I feel is, and when you look at the results, I feel that the girls who've done exceptionally well, those are the girls who also made the most of the offerings that were there in school. So I feel that a holistic education, a complete education, actually does, or kind of gives the student an edge to do better in academics as well. And scientifically also it is proven that, a little amount of exercise and sport helps you learn better, or your brain functions better when you're stimulated in the right manner.
Yeah. I think, and that's why, I mean, I don't know why this rush. I mean, in most of our schools, there is rush for extra classes and coaching and ये भी कराओ इसको रात में भी पढ़ाओ खेलना वो है ना हिंदी में जो बोलते हैं बड़े खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे खराब और पढ़ोगे लिखोगे तो बनोगे नवाब. I mean, but I think that's totally wrong. I mean, people have to understand this.
I'll give you an example. My batch topper for ISC this year, she was the school captain who did everything. She took part in dramatics. She was a part of the production. She played the drums. You name it, she didn't leave any activity that that was offered in school, and she did well on top of that. So yeah, so it's just a myth, I think, and also I think because they're independent, they are in school, they know they have to manage that time. whatever limited time they have to manage it, put it to optimal use. When they're in the house, their mothers or parents are telling them, "Ab ye pad lo, ab wo pad lo, ab idhar chale jao, ab udhar chale jao," So that skill of discernment, of making the best use of the time that is available to them, I think that also comes in an environment such as ours.
I can imagine. I think thank you for bringing this to the subject. I think for next webinar we'll have this topic for first panel discussion in Intersect.
I
How
can actually
holistic?
get you data.
Yeah, you can give me data also, and we should come up with this because this is a national epidemic.
Yes.
Because people have been going after coaching and coaching. Every day I'm part of a lot of educators group. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to also add here that, okay, so everybody wants to do very well and everybody wants to focus on the academics.
Academics.
You may focus on the academics. You may also crack your NEET or your JEE or any other competitive exams. But what are you going to do when you're going to sit for an interview, for a job? When you're sitting for an interview, they're not just looking at your, content expertise.
Yeah.
They're looking at the whole individual, who has, how do you say, a variety of qualities.
Excellent.
And you can't just go through life with the set of blinkers and only look at academics. You have to be exposed. You have to become a completely 360-degree, developed individual. So that, I think, unfortunately, many parents don't see the value in that, and it's become an epidemic, like you said.
नहीं बिल्कुल, ये तो आपने बहुत अच्छी बात हमें बता दी. And I will definitely ensure that I get some data from you in coming months, and let's work together. Next week I'm there. We'd love to spend some time, maybe more time on this subject. I know we are running short, 2 minutes more. I was want to mention I've sent you the WhatsApp also. Pooja Adlakha was the student that shared with me on Instagram that you taught her French. And Pooja is right now in Switzerland. She immigrated to Switzerland many years back, and has a lovely family. So, I mean, my final question to you, ma'am. This was on my question list. What conversations do girls today most need from educators and parents? I mean, yes, we are talking about education, and you want to talk about policy, but you are specifically about girls. Girls in our society even today have more responsibility. I mean, than the men. I will just say this. I mean, I know at my hand when my wife has more on her hand than what I have, and girls are expected to manage family and work and lot of other things that come in their plate. And so anything that you want to end this talk by in terms of, what is it that being a girl today, what should society talk to them about?
So this is something that I tell my girls whenever I'm sitting with them, and I think I like to repeat that. Somehow we are wired in such a way that women or girls, we aren't wired to take risks. Men have got this natural ability to take risks. Somehow that's how society has evolved. And something that I like to tell my girls, that it's okay to take risks. It's okay to make mistakes. One should look at challenges and mistakes as being critical components of one's own growth and development. This is something that, all girls need to be taught to. Girls by nature are very perfectionists. They want perfect. And because, society has put them on a pedestal, saying they are great multitaskers, they can be brilliant educators,
professionals,
all your professionals. But what we need to teach our girls is that, we need to teach them about trade-offs. We need to say, well, if you're focusing on one thing, it's okay if the others slip for a while. Everything you cannot optimize simultaneously. We revere multitasking, which I think is a faux pas. One needs to teach them to think, slowly in a fast forward world, because otherwise, girls and women per se, they really, beat themselves black and blue if they fail in one area. So that's something that I would talk to the girls about. Have confidence in yourself. Be confident enough to say what is on your mind. Um, Take your risks, make your mistakes, open up about your own vulnerabilities. I think that's something that's close to my heart, and I talk to my students most of the times on topics such as these.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you do that. Yeah, girls are expected to be perfect every time at everything that they do, and multitask can never, be wrong at something. But I think you are absolutely correct. Thank you so much. I mean, it's okay to let something go in terms of excellence in a few things that speak to you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time. It was an honor. What a lovely conversation.